We're going to be installing Outback Motortek Pannier Racks. They actually give you a really handy QR code on each bag that takes you right to a YouTube install video. So this will not be a full install video because their video is fantastic, and I will link that down in the description. This is going to be more of an ins and outs of me doing an Outback Motortek install. Eventually I will also be installing a shiny new skid plate by the same company and a full set of crash bars, engine guard, crash bar, and upper bar. That's the most protection Lana's had on her in forever. All right, buddy pegs removed, both sides, brackets out, racks off. I've got one more. That's got to come off. You're coming off. And I was right, it's a 10mm. Pops right out. Two little teeth back here go right into there. We need to take this apart. This, that, and this gotta go. I probably will do the side plastics first, but to do that, first I need to do this bolt because that's gonna come with the side plastics. My camera's been reading 1% battery for about 20 minutes. I think I need to do a factory reset. Okay, that loosens this up. Now you just got to work on your plastic. It's got all kinds of little nubbins, tabs. They got to pop right on off. Be gentle, yet firm. There we go. This is what I'm talking about, all these plastic tabs. There, there, there. It's got a big push pin tab here. Now we can get on to pulling the handrail off. Doesn't matter what order you do these in. It's not like putting a wheel on a car or anything. No star pattern. Last two out. Now there are two 4mm Allen. Kind of hard to see right back in there on either side. You gotta undo those and this whole thing can just lift straight off. And that was a lie, it's not a 4, it's probably a 5. Whole thing lifts right off. Next thing to come off is this little plastic shroud. These two got to come off. Also, unplug your brake light. That's probably an 8. Yep. Every time I do something in the garage, I end up using the chest freezer as a workbench. Every time. There is a spacer here and here that you do not want to lose. This has to come off because there's 2 bolts underneath it that hold the rear fender on a little bit. Like that. Like that. I should only need about that much room because you got to get at this and this. 5mm Allen, 12mm nut on the back side. All that work, all that nonsense to take this off. Now this can finally be a video about putting the Outback Motortek stuff on because I finally got the last piece of Tusk stuff off. That should be actually just fine. One bolt in. When installing the rear crossbar, the longer side goes to the exhaust side. Has to be offset to make room for the rack to stick out here. And again, I cannot stress enough, wash your bike before you do this job. Once you get these 2 bolts in that hold this rear fender section on, make sure you tighten them up. This will be your last opportunity to do so. Torque them down a little bit. Otherwise, you're going to lose your rear fender section. Don't forget to plug in your brake light. Brake light's back on. Now all I'm gonna do is reverse the process that I used to take everything off. Make sure the shroud goes back on. Pillion handle is gonna go back on. But at least put the bolts in. I'm not gonna tighten them down. And then I gotta snap the side plastics back on. And then I can continue the install. But the most difficult part of the install is complete. Okay. Darn. Yeah, that just happened. So this is just a couple of seconds since you guys saw it, but it's been this is the next day now. Here we are, day 2. This would only be just maybe a couple hour job, but you know, real life things come up and you gotta postpone working on fun stuff once in a while. So here we are, day 2, wardrobe change and everything. It is worth mentioning that to take off the right side buddy pegs, it is easier to loosen the main hanger bolt for your exhaust a little bit to get that play in there to allow more room to get an extension up from behind and reach those bolts. You don't need to take the bolt all the way out for the hanger. Just loosen it a little ways just so you can move that extension out. Trust me, it will help. You use the OEM bolt and washer for that. That bracket just goes on there right like that. And since this kind of has the opportunity to move around a little bit, I'm going to leave the bolt loose so I can position this when I actually fit the rack. These racks are side specific. This one will be the right side. This goes to the foot peg, the buddy peg. This goes to the question mark bracket that I just installed. This goes to this rear brace. This is for that upper crossbar. You are supplied with all types of nuts and bolts of different sizes. 6mm and 8mm are the different sizes of bolts that come with the Outback Motortek kit. That's cool. The instructional video from Outback Motortek leaves it a little bit lacking as to what bolts go where. These no longer come with printed instructions, and while the install videos are very good, they do leave a little bit to be desired. Overall, the videos are very good, and I say videos because after I get these on, I'm also, not today, but I'm also going to be installing and filming separate episodes for doing the full crash bar system and the skid plate. This bike is getting a full protection package, which I'm pretty stoked for. These are loose. That's something else when you're doing crash bars, pannier racks, stuff like that that has multiple points of attachment. Leave everything loose. Get everything threaded and started, but leave everything loose until all the bolts are in place, because a lot of times you got to strong arm the bars to get stuff to fit. That was true when I put these on, and even the bark busters, honestly. But leave everything loose until you get all the bolts threaded into their places, and then go back through and tighten everything down. It's worth noting that this rear cross brace is actually canted to one angle in relation to its mounting plates, and I'm assuming that's to allow room in between this brace and the fender, because I had it on one way and it wasn't wanting to go. It was bumping up against that fender. That is something that is not mentioned in the Outback Motortek video. Congratulations, I found it out for you. And same thing over here that I did on the other side. I'm gonna get that bolt started, leave enough room for that thing to move around so I can slide it all the way in there. There we go. There's the beginnings of some racks. All the other bolts are on. I just got to go around and tighten everything up. As a recap, now that everything is fitted and on, my buddy pegs are already tight. I'm going to go around and this bolt, this one, this one, this one, this one, this one, these four. Make sure they're all tight, and fortunately you don't need Loctite with these because Outback Motortek supplies nylock nuts, so that's a nice touch. So the 6mm bolts that they talk about in the Outback Motortek install video are 8mm head, 10mm nut. The 8mm bolts are 10mm head, 13mm nut. 10 and 13, 12, 10, 12, 12, 12, 12, 8 and 10, and that is a number 8 Allen. These will also be 8 and 10. I work with a lady who is very nice, and she told me a story about her husband and her, as they used to work on cars years ago. They would gauge the difficulty of the job by how many cuss words were said during the job. Like, this is a 2 cuss word job or whatever. This one apparently is a 4 cuss word job. There was one of them from early on. Busted my knuckle open. Just did another one. And I'm giving myself a 2 cuss word leeway. That was the install for the Outback Motortek Pannier Rack system on a 2019 Africa Twin. This same rack system will also fit the 2018. It is a different rack for 16 and 17, and a different rack again for anything newer than 2019. So 2021, and I'm sure they may have to have a different one for the 22s that are out now as well. It may differ whether you have a standard or an adventure sport. 2 more install videos coming soon. Outback Motortek complete crash bar system on a 2019 Africa Twin, and a skid plate install.